everyone. Welcome to Tru You podcast, a storytelling space for self discovery where we use this safe, brave space to address racial trauma and healing for Black women through our own lived experiences. I'm Kelley, and this is my co host.
Hi, I'm Debbie, and we're a mother daughter team having real conversations about real issues shared by and for Black women because we have something to say.
Yes, we do, and we're back for another month. And this is Black History Month, so happy Black History Month to everyone. I'm excited
Amen.
because I went to Target and I got my Black History Month T-shirt.
Cute.
Yes, designed by a Black woman, and I'm proud I'm proud every day. Let's just say that. But I'm
Yeah.
excited that it's Black History Month. How are you feeling, Ma?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited as well because Deniene is here, and I've known her for a little while, but I'm so excited to hear what Deniene has to say about her business. I am so um, always into hearing about new ventures, new ministries that have started by Black women, and so can't wait to hear what you have to say, Deniene. So excited to have you.
Yes.
Thank you. Excited to be here. I am. I don't know why I'm acting like I'm nervous.
You're
Don't be
fine.
nervous, Denise. You are our
I know.
dynamic guest. We're having these real conversations, and let's just
We're
be
just
real
gonna be
about it. We
real.
get nervous sometimes, but it's okay. We're family.
That's
We're
right.
family. And so today's title is Stepping Out on Faith. I thought this would be a great title for today's episode, and that it's fitting because we're talking about Black women entrepreneurs and talking about the choices that they make as they pivot from maybe the corporate world or wherever they may be in their life, where they make that decision that I'm doing it on my own. I'm going to have my own business. Um, I'm going to be my own boss, so to speak. And so Deniene has a beautiful story about her journey. And I'm excited that she agreed that she would share her story with us. And so I will get started with Deniene. Let's just start from the beginning. How did you make the decision to start your own business?
Well, I grew up, I did a lot of work in the church with the youth growing up. So I've always worked with a lot of kids, and even a kid myself, like 12 years old. My aunt had a ministry in her basement. So all of the kids ran the ministry, right? So we did the devotion, we did it. It was fun, and we were learning at the same time. So it was fun. We were being trained how to conduct a service, and we did the special occasions. When I went into the world of church outside of the basement ministry, I continued to work with the youth in the church. And as things change and we pivot, in the world, I started writing skits and plays for the church, and the youth started saying, "Oh, we can't say this in front of the church." They were very challenging. Little skits and stuff, which my pastor, he was fine with to go forward. And, but the youth who were the ones that had to actually do do the performance, they weren't comfortable. And so I like, Lord, I don't know. I just had so much that I knew I had in the inside, and things were changing, and the internet and all that stuff was happening where the attention span of the youth was somewhere else. I took it to the streets. I heard a voice say, "Take it to the streets." Just as simple as that. I take it to the streets. And all of this word with spiritual grounded um, framework that I have to make something fun and uplifting for youth and adults.
Amen. Thank you so much, Denise, for sharing. What a beautiful beginning of your story. And I'm pretty sure that there's been some challenges along the way. Can you share what some of those challenges were that you faced not only as you started your business, but even moving forward? What challenges have you faced?
Some of the challenges, I think, one of the biggest challenges, um, just finding people to be truthful in their spaces, right? We're working toward, For Trusty Cup production, I work in leadership, spiritual values, you know, transformation, personal transformation, and growth. And when you partner with people, you're looking for them to have the same passion that you are driven by, because you understand that I understand that everything I'm doing, I am driven by something. And it's not money, and it's not success, and it's not a title. I'm driven in impacting someone else's life, with all that God has given me. And Trusty Cup Production is a faith-based organization. And that's one of the challenges, definitely. And finding trust, trusting partners. That's definitely that might be a challenge for anybody, in the business world. But that is a challenge, making sure that those people that are in place are there to help grow, that we might grow together.
That's right. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Deniene. I can imagine, even with the staff that you have, just trying to keep them encouraged, because sometimes their goals may not be the ones that you want. But that's why you have to train them and keep them focused on what's important, and that's the ministry of your business. And I can imagine that being a challenge at times, because they don't have the same focus as you do.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that keeps pushing you forward in your business? You've been doing this for how many years now? What keeps you focused?
2011 is when I started Trusty Cup Production. What keeps me focused is when I see the success stories, when I hear someone say, "Oh, Deniene, because of this, or you said this, this is life changing for me." I had one of my participants from my program call me. He needed some advice about something that he was doing in the food justice system, and this was something new for him. And he called me, and I'm like, okay, let me put him in, and I hooked him up with other people and everything. He was like, "Deniene, this is why I am so appreciative of you, because I don't know how busy you are, but you did it." I told him, "Give me a minute. If I don't get back to you, just know that I'm coming." And so those things, and being able to be there and see the lives of other people, keeps me motivated.
That's fabulous. I can imagine. It makes you feel good when you know you found a solution and you're helping someone else out to establish their dreams as well. Thank you so much, Deniene, for sharing. We really appreciate it. We're coming now to our last question, and I'm going to hand it off to Kelley to go ahead and talk about our last question.
Yeah, I think like before we get into that, I just want to spend a little bit more time with um, like your business and how you got started, because I know you said you moved from like the church and then onto your own business, which is Trusty Cup Productions, and just wanted to, if you could just talk a little bit more about like, is it when you talk about Trusty Cup Productions moving from like the church to the streets, how that transition was, and then also um, how did it change, because you're in a different environment. So, and you worked with kids, and you still work with kids, but you also work with adults. So if you could talk about that.
So that transition was really very. I'm looking at the stepping out on faith, right? So I got this. I got this. I got this voice in my head. I got this spirit that's driving me. Start Trusty Cup Production. What do you do? So God had placed me in the right moments every time to put Trusty Cup into where it is. For example, I didn't know a lot about a 501c3. I didn't know a lot about that. Once I learned that that was something that I needed to have, one day I didn't know how I was going to get it. I didn't even know what it was. I knew that it did something for the non-for-profit organization world. That's what I knew. I was going to pick up my mother-in-law she was at a family focus program. I was going to pick her up from there. I happened to get out of the car because she wasn't coming out. So I was like, let me see, is she in here? And I went in, I started talking to the young man, the security guard, and I don't know what, I just started bringing up a conversation spiritually and talking, and I'm somebody that don't meet a stranger. So I don't meet a stranger. And so I'm just talking to this man like I really know him. And I was just telling him all of this stuff that God had poured into me while I was waiting for my mother-in-law to come out. And he said, I know a lady that does that. He said, I know a lady that do the 501c3. I said, you do? He called the lady up right then and there. I talked to the lady on the phone. The next week I was at her church every week to talk out my vision. I paid the lady in payment because I ain't had no money. I paid the lady in payment plans, like $100 a week, and then I come back in 3 weeks. She know I ain't had no money. And I got my 501c3, and from there, God just started putting things in place and in line. And then I was going from one thing to the next. The next thing was I was looking for a vineyard, and my church got invited to the Quinn Center, and they wanted some leaders from the community to come to the Quinn Center. And the evangelist at my church said, Deniene, Pastor wants you to go to this Quinn Center over here and go to this meeting. And I go to the meeting, and that's where I met my first partner, Gabriel Lara, in the Quinn Center at Trusty Cup Production. So I met him there, and from there I started working with the kids with no money, faithfully. But again, I was a stay-at-home mom, so I had privilege. I had a lot of privilege, and I had a lot of time. And so with that privilege and time, I was able to pour into the community with my passion and no money in the beginning for a minute.
I love that. I love
That's
that
great.
story, and just how you've been able to move on this journey, and how you, through each step, you're stepping out on faith. Each step, you're trusting that your business is going to grow, which it has. And what do you see? And you're still growing, because I know I have a little advantage because I know this personally. Because it's not just about the skits, which you started with. It's about community building. It's about trust. It's about relationships. And I just want to kind of dig deeper on the question of challenges. And so a huge challenge that happened for a lot of businesses is the pandemic. And like businesses needing to close, shift how they do things. And people were touched in so many ways. Nobody, I think, was untouched as far as the pandemic was concerned. And so I want to ask you, as you work through your business, how did things shift or change once the pandemic hit?
Well, once the pandemic hit, I was in the middle of actually developing a new session for Trustee Cup Production and one of my programs, the Community Leadership Academy. And as a result of the pandemic, I didn't know what to do. I saw that everything was going, meetings were being held on Zoom. I designed a virtual Community Leadership Academy session for between 7 and 10 community members. And I had the opportunity to work with Cook County Department of Public Health and the COVID-19 initiative, which was great. I actually thrived like never before during the pandemic with Trustee Cup Production. I worked with Cook County initiative to build a trusting relationship between the staff of Cook County and the community-based organizations that receive the funds for the COVID-19 initiative. And so that was a great opportunity to practice and learn from each other as we create these meetings that was more engaging and that was more, that was just real, not with a lot of words, but with a lot of action. And so that opportunity really, we learned a lot in that initiative because we was able to put our tools that we've learned to work. and opportunities. There was one opportunity after the other, and a challenge in some of that um, was pivoting, changing with real time. So the COVID-19 was happening. The news was giving new information. We were changing our strategies and our work along the way because it was a really, really fast paced moving um, experience. But we were up for the challenge, and me and my staff, um, we we had opportunities after the pandemic. So in the midst of the challenge, there was great opportunity. There was times when we were like, we don't know if these people are getting it, and we have to understand that mindset change takes time. We were planting seeds toward the end of our journey with Cook County Department of Public Health. We were hearing our words in the voices of the staff, in the voices of the community-based organization, um, the people that were coming to our meetings. So it was a great success and challenge altogether, but we did plant a lot of good seeds, and we continue to pray that they um, receive the growth that they're, from our planting.
Yes, I love that. In the midst of challenge, there's opportunities, and actually, um, how how those opportunities are much greater than you couldn't have even imagined in spite of that challenge. So, um, thank you, Deneen. I love that you were able to grow within your business, and also even just touching the community that's in need, um, and dealing with the need that they've never experienced before, in some instances, or when it comes to just talking about, let's just be real, just talking about um, racial justice, all of the things that we're dealing with systemically is even heightened from this pandemic, and so. Um, I love that you said that you were able to plant those seeds within the community, as well as kind of be the support that's needed. So thank you for that, Deneen.
And I just want to share too. I can't imagine how it touched your heart as well. I'm sure in some ways it probably made you feel good about the ministry or the work that you're doing, and you probably learned some things as well from them. So I'm just
Oh,
asking that question.
I learned some things about them, and I learned some things about myself.
Well, what did you learn, Deneen?
I learned about myself. We was in a meeting once, and I was just so sick of them. I'm gonna share this. I was so sick of them in the meeting, and I was in the meeting, and I was saying, how long do it take somebody to change how they think? How
Mm,
am I getting upset with people that are going to work? This is their livelihood. They can't be saying too much. They got to pay their mortgage. They got to pay their car note, their kids in school. And so I had an expectation, because of how successful we've been in our work, that I was way up here with, oh, they're going to get it. And they were far from it.
mm,
And I had to understand that people can't say everything. People have to humble themselves in these spaces because it's their livelihood. They've seen what happened when people speak up or when they're challenged. Sometimes they lose their job. Sometimes they're demoted. Sometimes they never go to the promotion. They never get the promotion because they're too vocal about the truth.
That's
And so
right.
I was in the meeting, and I said, we're going to tell them blah, blah, blah. And then our one of Lena, Dr. Hatcher say, wait a minute, Deneen, we are all in this together. Like, you can't say that, it's because of the frustration. But again, like I said, at the end of it, I've learned that it's about planting seeds, and that you cannot get upset if we having these meetings and they're staying the same, because there is a there is consequences, when you do challenge authority. And when you're a black person, don't nobody want to hear us talking or complaining, even in the midst of telling the truth.
Mm.
In the truth, and people know the truth, but we have consequences for speaking the truth in our spaces.
Yeah.
Even if they're spoken respectfully, there's still consequences for us.
That's right.
Yeah, and then I think you need to be prepared to deal whatever those consequences may be, as well. So yeah, I understand that when it comes to
And
mindset change.
everybody not up for the fight. Everybody not up for the fight. They got their children, they got their family, their husband and wife, their mom and dad, they have their grandkids, whatever the situation. Everybody not up for the fight.
That's
Everybody
right.
just trying to get by the best way they possibly can.
Well, not to mention those are other fights, that they're dealing. Your family, trying to maintain, that's a fight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just the everyday, um, living or taking care of family, that can be a fight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
Definitely. So yeah, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot that um, do what you're gonna do, and do it wholeheartedly, and then know that you can walk away knowing you did the best you can.
there's definitely impact in the work that you do. That's why you keep doing it. So I believe in that.
CLA wouldn't be as successful if it wasn't an impact. So you're doing wonderful
Absolutely,
ministry, wonderful
absolutely.
work.
I think I'll just move into like our last topic because like we always bring this back into black women and racial trauma and those periods that go often through our lives, and they also occur for black entrepreneurs as well. And especially as we work within our communities, I wanted to bring us back to how do we get, because there's trauma in, we go through trauma in our lives. There's certain periods, and even within like businesses and just life in general. But I do want to bring it back to like the healing piece of that, and then again, we're not clinical experts, but I do want to ask Deniene, like personally or in general, as far as community, what do you feel like, and you've worked in community, you've had your own lived experiences, what do you think our community needs or yourself for racial healing?
I think for racial healing, we need to encourage each other, right? We
Mm-hmm.
need to let each other know that it's okay. It's okay to be broken, right? But work toward the healing process in the midst of your brokenness. And let's do that together. Let's admit that we're broken in some areas of our life. Let's admit that maybe somebody that raised us was doing the best they can, and that we have to forgive them and understand that whatever their lived experience was, it was far, sometimes it was worse than ours. And so if we could understand that we're broken people, but we are broken people on the rise of being healed to move forward in a more productive, positive way, and not to sit in the brokenness.
That's good.
I love that
I love
answer.
it.
I truly do.
Not to live in the brokenness.
Don't make me get too heavy, Kelley. Don't make me get too heavy. Don't make me get too heavy.
No,
No,
but
but it's
it's
true.
honest.
It's true.
It
We
is
we
true.
we we kind of broken, and we said it, and then we put on the we put on the nice clothes, we put on the name brand stuff, and we put on our our stuff. But in the inside, we're crying. We haven't forgiven somebody for something, and they dead. It could be somebody they dead. They've been dead 20 years. You still holding on to something that somebody done dead there for 30 years. You know what I mean? And then you just continue to
Yeah.
live in that. And a lot of that is the racial trauma. The racial trauma that some generation, be quiet, don't say that.
Yep.
So we carry all of that, and then we carry hurt that we can't vocalize. We don't even know where it's
Exactly.
coming from. And then you got to dig deep. But when you dig deep, guess what? That's hurt. You might got Big Mama and them still alive, and then you don't want to. They already sick.
Yeah.
You don't want to bring no more hurt to them. So then you just stay broken.
Yeah.
you know. But I guess when we get past the brokenness and the rate and all that trauma, and that's
Right.
what we do is chip away. As somebody said, and I continue to use, it's something that we chip away at. Every little part of the
Mm-hmm.
world that we can touch, every person that we can touch in the small parts of the world, then that's what we can't reach mass. I mean, I have a vision for that, but guess what? I'm gonna start right where I'm at, and I'm gonna work
That's
with
right.
who God put in front of me right now. And if that is His will, then all of that will come to pass. Which, as we continue to work, I don't work toward that. I just work toward every person that's put in front of me, that comes through the program, to understand that their lived experience has purpose, you know,
Yes.
and that the purpose is driven for
That's right.
success for somebody else. Like, we ain't been through nothing that we haven't overcame, that we supposed to share with someone. We are
That's right.
overcomers by our testimonies. And so our testimonies is part of our story. But so many people live in shame in their story.
Deniene, you preaching. You are so right. You are preaching. Yeah, you're right. Those lived experiences. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Wow. I am full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, and I love that, and I love like when you say that we're chipping away, and I think that's why we also like did this podcast, like so we can share these stories. We're chipping away. Like nobody claims to like have all the answers, but I think as we talk about these things and we're honest about these things, it gets a little easier. Um, as we open up and kind of share a little bit more of ourselves and a little bit more um, of
Yeah.
that hurt, and getting past
Absolutely.
that hurt. Um,
Absolutely.
I love it. So we're getting towards the end of the podcast, but I do want to just mention like to support Trusty Cup Productions. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing organization that's in the community, and actually touching those who are who need a space for release, and and I can personally say like that I have had like an opportunity to kind of move on my journey, and have been in touch with Deniene, and been able to like push further on the things that she's given me. And so I'm thankful to have her on this podcast to share. And I'm thankful that she's sharing with all of you today. And so, with that being said, Ma, you have any last words? We're
No, I'm just so,
getting towards the end.
I know, I'm just so thankful for Deniene being on the podcast today. Like Kelley said, we have to support one another, and whatever we can do to get Trusty Cup out there. We will be talking about Trusty Cup and Deniene's vision for the community, and we're just excited that you came on and that you shared your heart with us. So grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Woo, woo, Kelley.
Give it up, give
You
it
know.
up. And so, as we're ending this podcast, I want to thank you for listening, and keep with us. Next month we'll have another topic, another episode. We're again real conversations about real issues, and just being open, and knowing that we're on this journey together. And so, with that being said, again, thank you, Deniene. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Join us next month, and see you then. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Tru You is brought to you by Radiant Vessels and sponsored by Proviso Partners for Health.